Okay, so I mentioned that Miss Julie Pleck had emailed us, and she was so excited. So I wanted to also bring up. We talked about a few minutes ago how they decided to change Elena's date night episode outfit. So Amber's going to show you just a photo of that, just so that if you don't remember, it kind of just refreshes your memory, so to speak. Okay, and then she also said that Candace's hair, who is our Caroline, of course.
She was not a fan.
See, yes, they weren't a fan of what they did in that first episode. And I will say, it's a little
old.
It's
a little old. Yeah, it's a little old. It does age. I do think
big curls.
Yeah,
so.
It is a little sweet. It is a little old as well.
So I can see why they decided to change that, and it's just neat to hear straight from Julie too that those were two of the things that just really stuck in her craw a little bit. So we'll take them.
Yeah, we'll take them.
We mentioned, and we're going to mention again, that the pilot episode is the only episode that did not film in Covington. It actually filmed in Vancouver, which has a cool little side thing that is where they filmed another vampire series. This is the only time that I will say this, and that's where Twilight was.
Twilight.
So if you're a Twilight fan, and most of us here are, but you know, our vampires reign supreme, okay? Just so that we all know that. We will make sure we put that out there for you guys. But the Salvatore house, you'll notice how that changes. It's green in the, it is.
It's like a little cottage, almost. Like, it's tiny compared to how you see the
you
Salvatore
could definitely
house.
Go cottage core.
Yes, like cottage core vampires. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
yes.
And that actually gets used in another CW show later. I want to say
it's Riverdale.
Is it Riverdale?
It's Riverdale. I'm pretty sure it's Riverdale. If we're wrong, then let us know.
Yeah,
but
I'm
pretty sure it's Riverdale.
But they did end up using it again. So that's kind of just a neat thing for fans to know, that a lot of times if you're something that's used by a television network and they go back to the same area, they remember what they've used and where they got the sweetest,
especially for a pilot, because you're gonna that's a big moment for your career. You're gonna remember the things that you use.
So you remember when you go back and you do the next thing that was a great thing.
Yes. So here's what the Salvatore house looked like when they moved here.
Yes, and it grows nice and big and beautiful.
It was huge.
And throughout the seasons, it grows bigger at the sound stages as well. So they start out with little things, and then as each season gets more and more time picked up and more episodes, then everything gets bigger because the budget gets bigger. So just so you kind of aware of that. But Elena's house. That's the one that was green in the pilot.
That was green in the pilot, and a different house number.
Yeah.
So if you're not really
and
if you pay attention to those tiny little things, which you should, because at some point we might do some trivia where you can win some shit, and you're going to want to pay attention to the tiny stuff. All right?
I got a lot of good stuff here.
So this is her house for the pilot episode.
And then the next episode, you'll notice that it's white and it's beautiful, and eventually you'll see the
Gilbert house. Yes.
This is your wonderful house.
The Gilbert house. This is the house that stands to this day and looks exactly like this.
This is where we go on the tours, where you get in, sit in the porch swing and take a photo. So just So you definitely want to do that. The high school in the pilot is massive. It does not look like it came from a small town in Georgia, that's for sure.
No.
So, so it's pretty massive, and it's too big for a small town.
And I honestly think, just because this is actually from the show, I feel like there's more people at the high school right now than you see the rest of the series. Like, this is a lot of people out in the yard.
That's true.
But this is true. This is the only thing. They don't really show the high school much in the series because it was at the stages.
Right.
The football field was a different location, and we'll get into that in episode 3. But the high school was a different location, or was at the stages, I mean. So you just even riding by and stuff, it literally just said Mystic Falls High with a sign. And then they had like a little area outside where they had that was where they all did the drugs and stuff like that.
Yeah, the picnic tables.
Yeah, and then inside the buildings they had the high school built inside of the stages.
Yeah. So, and we'll talk lots and lots and lots about that. We'll tell you all the different things about the sound stages and what's really in location and what's not. So you'll get to see a lot of that.